President of the Mountain Lakes League of Women Voters. The mission of the League of Women Voters is to empower voters and help democracy work. In carrying out our mission of encouraging informed and active participation in government, the League continues to be key sponsors of candidates, debates, and forums. We have always enjoyed a high level of public trust in this area. As president of the Mountain Lakes League, I know that we have received excellent marks over many years from the community who have found our debates to be helpful in discerning between candidates. Today, we will hold a Meet the Candidates Symposium for the 4 candidates for Borough Council who have agreed to participate. The goal of today's symposium is consistent with our League's mission of educating voters on some of the most important issues that face our community. Our League will also be hosting a Board of Ed debate on October 7th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. Please help make this event a success by submitting your thoughtful questions. See our website for further details, including where to send your questions and how to attend the live stream event. For those who cannot make that date and time, a recording of the event will be made available to the community to view on the same website, which is www.lwvmtnlakes.com. As we begin, let me leave you with an additional thought from author Vera Nazarian. Quote, "A choir is made of many voices, including yours and mine. If one by one we all go silent, then all that will be left are the soloists. Don't let a loud few determine the nature of the sound. It makes for poor harmony and diminishes the song." And now I would like to introduce Mr. Timothy Priano, our facilitator for today. Timothy is director for the New Jersey State League. He's a resident of Plainfield, New Jersey, and has been a member of the League of Women Voters for many years, where he has served on the board in the capacity of membership and voter services. We are pleased to have his support for this event. Thank you, Timothy.
Thank you very much, Mary, and welcome everyone to the symposium today. We are going to run through a very simple procedure. We're going to give everyone a 2-minute opening statement. Then we will go through a few questions for everyone to express themselves. This is a free form of letting the voters understand your viewpoints on the values that are part of Mountain Lakes. I will introduce each candidate for their opening statement one by one. Our first candidate to speak is Lauren Barnett. Lauren.
Okay, I unmute myself. Thank you, Timothy, and thank you, Mary. Thank you for this opportunity this afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Lauren Barnett. I ran for Borough Council 4 years ago because Mountain Lakes has just been a wonderful home for me and my family for the last 12 years, and I wanted to give back to our community in a meaningful way. Since then, it's been my privilege to serve as deputy mayor, for 2 years as mayor, and now as councilwoman. And I am running for re-election this year because we have gotten a lot done over the past 4 years. I truly feel the borough is stronger than it was 4 years ago, and I want to continue getting things done for our community. So what skills do I bring to the table? I graduated from Princeton University, where I majored in public policy and international relations. I have an MBA from Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management, where I studied finance, strategy, and marketing. And then I worked for several years as a business strategy consultant. And the work that I did there, a lot of financial analysis, working with organizations to help them run more efficiently, to cut costs, to improve services, working effectively and productively in a team, making thoughtful decisions based on fact-based analysis. All of those skills have been very helpful to my work on council. I have a 4-year track record on council. It's a track record I'm proud of. I've tried to be a very responsive leader and have focused on improving communications and transparency. Again, working effectively with the whole team, and that includes, employees, fellow council members, volunteers, to get the job done. bringing strength and stability to our borough management team, getting infrastructure projects done, encouraging thoughtful development to reduce our tax burden, settling our affordable housing obligation. My colleague Cynthia Corman has been a real leader on that issue, and I'm thrilled she's running for re-election. And getting these things done while significantly reducing municipal tax increases. So that's bottom line. That's probably the most important skill I bring to council, my experience in leadership and getting things done and managing tax dollars responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next candidate will be Kelly Holiday.
Thanks, Timothy and Mary, for hosting this event. I'm Kelly Holiday. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I apologize. I'm Kelly Holiday. I moved here to Mountain Lakes about 7 years ago with my husband, Dave, and our 2 children. A little bit about my background. I graduated with a master's degree in civil engineering on a U.S. Air Force ROTC scholarship, and then promptly served 10 years after graduating from there. During that time, I was mainly doing municipal type city engineering work on the Air Force Base. And I was exposed to urban planning, and that became a passion of mine. So when I left the Air Force after 10 years, I went ahead and got certified as a planner and spent the next 10 years doing urban planning consultant around the globe at different municipalities and military installations. When that travel schedule got to be too much for my family, I pivoted and went into commercial construction project management. And over the past 8 years, we've grown a business from the original 4 people to over about 100, building movie theaters and family entertainment centers across the country. So then the question is, why am I running? Well, because of my military upbringing, Mountain Lakes is the 18th place I've called home, and it's by far the favorite place that I've ever lived. And because of that, I wanted to give back to the community. So the natural fit for me was to join the planning board, which then led to working on the Affordable Housing Committee with Cynthia, and also doing a little bit of work with the Economic Development Committee. And over that time, those past couple of years, I have seen a real improvement in the ability of the current Borough Council to roll up their sleeves and work together collaboratively to get things done for Mountain Lakes. So when the people that I felt were pretty responsible for ensuring that that got done approached me and asked me to join their team, I jumped at the opportunity. I also believe that my skills as a leader, a planner, and a builder will be invaluable to the borough in the next 4 years. So basically, I'm running because I believe the borough is stronger than it was 4 years ago, and I intend to keep it on that path. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our next candidate to speak is Cynthia Corman. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Timothy. And did you see Mary Jolson's note to you in the chat?
No.
It's
fine. They're not seeing it. They need to refresh.
Okay.
People need to refresh their screens.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm running for Borough Council because I'm grateful for the value that Mountain Lakes has given me and my family through its excellence in education, sports, and community. As a public servant by nature, I want to see others thrive in our exceptional town. That's something that I work toward, helping others thrive in town as a current council member, and it's something that I want to continue working for. That's why I'm running for re-election. The experience that I bring is my past 4 years on Borough Council. In the past 4 years, I've learned more than I think I've ever otherwise learned in a 4-year time frame about the most surprising range of things. I truly did not know that I would be learning the things that I've learned when I ran for council in 2016, and it's been wonderful since then. Most significantly, I've learned the detail of meeting our town's affordable housing obligations, and in a very productive bipartisan collaboration within town, I've applied the knowledge about that I've picked up about affordable housing to doing what it takes to meet the borough's affordable housing obligations required of us by the state of New Jersey in a way that preserves the borough's park-like character and is enjoyed by all its residents. I also bring my 20 years of residency in town, during which time I've coached and co-chaired Recreation Track. I've participated in the Mountain Lakes Professional Women's Forum, the Mountain Lakes Garden Club, and the Mountain Lakes League of Women Voters. I've been a small business owner for over 25 years, and I bring an understanding of the challenges that small businesses face and the value that they provide. And so as a member of Borough Council, I always have that perspective in mind. As far as education goes, I have a degree in political science and public policy analysis and a master's degree in an MBA in information systems. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our last candidate to speak, this opening statement is Kazar Sheikh.
Thank you, Timothy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So hi, everybody. My name is Kazar Sheikh, and I really do thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this symposium. And I appreciate the chance to introduce myself and shed light on how I approach issues. You know, when Nadia and I were searching for our first home, a great school system was our first priority, our top priority. But when we drove through this town, it was more than a great school system. It felt different. It felt unique. It felt like home. And since 2007, we've only increased our appreciation. Mountain Lakes has been a wonderful place to call home for me and Nadia, raise our 14 and 12-year-old sons, and develop lifelong friendships. But like anything else that's unique, we must protect it. And we have to do so by working and moving ahead together. And I think I can help with this. After graduating from Hamilton College and Rutgers Law School, I've built a law practice that provides cybersecurity, privacy, and technology counsel to Fortune 500 companies. I've also led or helped numerous community organizations, including chairing nonprofits that help children and families, chairing the Mountain Lakes Environmental Commission, vice chairing our zoning board, serving on the Economic and Development Advisory Committee, and coaching for and serving on the executive board of the Little League. I am thankful that my clients and these organizations trust me to protect their interests, to unify different voices, to find common ground, and to make the complex understandable. We have all made tremendous financial, time, and family investments in this community, and we need leaders that have the right skills, experiences, and temperament to work collaboratively with others, preserve what makes Mountain Lakes great, and help it thrive into the future. It's why I'm so proud to be running with this group of candidates that share my core values and love of this community. I invite you to share with me your views, and I really do thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. So it's going to be a very simple procedure here today. We're going to start with our candidates, and we're going to ask one question and have their response. They're free to express any opinion they have on each of the questions that we're offering. Our first question will be, how do you view the role of development in Mountain Lakes? And our first candidate to speak will be Kelly Holliday.
Thank you. Development in Mountain Lakes. Well, I see development in Mountain Lakes as the primary way to provide tax relief to our residents. However, I do firmly believe that this has to be done in a collaborative process, starting with the end in mind. We have opportunities right now for commercial redevelopment on our Route 46 corridor, and we have a potential for mixed-use development, more fun, in the Midvale Town Center area. However, we need to update our plans for those areas in a collaborative way that includes all stakeholders to allow us to develop a shared vision. This will ensure that the changes that are done with Mountain Lakes residents in the lead and not the developers. Over the past few months, I've had the opportunity to speak with several different stakeholders in town. For example, and the Midvale Town Center business owners, I had the opportunity to speak with a couple of those, and they wanted to ensure that they have their voices heard in any zoning or visioning that takes place around the area around their businesses. We also had an opportunity to meet with the Lake Arrowhead community just last weekend, and they made it clear that they wanted to have a say in the way the Route 46 is redeveloped, and that they even possibly have a vision of their own for this area. I believe firmly that this should be heard and incorporated in Mountain Lake's overall vision. We need to ensure members of council, fire, police, and all the interested voices in the community are heard when we create these plans and consider options. To that end, our master plan is slated to be updated over the next 3 years. So we want to ensure that when considering specific changes in these areas of interest in town, we incorporate design workshops with all of these stakeholders involved. As an urban planner, I have facilitated many of these visioning sessions. I know they work. They create excitement and engagement, and they bring community together towards a common goal. While I think development is by far the #1 way we can provide taxpayer relief, I believe it needs to be cautionary and that it needs to be done thoughtfully, with the end in mind, and with input from the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cynthia, shall I repeat the question?
Yes, please.
How do you view the role of development in mountain lakes? Thank you.
Thank you. We need development for property tax relief. Our schools need our tax dollars because at the end of the day, people have moved here for our schools, and new people to town continue to move here for our schools. But they also move here for the borough's lakes, sports programs, woodlands, and strength as a nurturing community. Keeping the non-school assets going is currently done on a very tight municipal budget. And so we need development for property tax relief, but not at the expense of our lakes, strong recreation programs, or park-like character. Fortunately, there's great opportunity for development, as Kelly mentioned, on the borough's Route 46 corridor. And in fact, tonight, Borough Council will be talking about rezoning that will provide more opportunity for that sort of development. The current Borough Council has also worked on rezoning the eastbound side and engaging the community to support development that in a way that engaging the community so that their voices are heard and their concerns are satisfied. That's a critical part of development. People who have been in town for a while may remember the process around development of the enclave, which was our most recent townhouse development. It was a project that aggravated the citizens in town. They fought it tooth and nail. It was very expensive for the developer to get through the various processes. And it was just a very difficult way to do development. Since that process, which ended around the time that Lauren and I joined council, along with some other new people, since that process, the current Borough Council has worked hard to have a more engaged process that's less painful for everyone all around. And that process has been successful in bringing the Sunrise community to our town, which is an example of successful development on Route 46, and is also helping to bring another major development before the planning board shortly. So my point is that the role of development is important in town, but it has to be done in a way that engages the community and is a positive experience for all around.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Kazar, shall I read the question again? How do you view the role of development in mountain lakes?
Thanks, Timothy, and thanks for the question. So the borough has limited ways to raise revenue. And so for non-tax revenue options, I view thoughtful development and investment as one of the best means to increase revenue for the borough without burdening taxpayers. It will be a top priority for me. I support healthy economic development and investment that meets our community's vision for our commercial corridors like Route 46, while maintaining Mountain Lakes as a historical residential park at its core. To do so, I would like to further simplify, clarify, and update our zoning to encourage thoughtful development and investment, and encourage planning and growth that improves our economic well-being and supports the needs of our residents and businesses. At the same time, such development must ensure that Mountain Lakes remains a historic residential park. Such development can only occur after resident and stakeholder input and buy-in, especially from those residents most impacted by any such development. Thoughtful development is necessary to consider and accomplish in our town, but we have to make sure that it's done the right way by electing leaders that not only have the experience to execute it, but also have the commitment to engage the community and the residents so that quality of life is maintained for all Mountain Lakes residents, no matter the specific neighborhood in which any Laker chooses to call home.
Thank you very much. Lauren.
I got the question.
You got the question? Great. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm the last in the row here, and I do agree with Kelly, Cynthia, and Kazar. The most significant thing that council can do to provide meaningful relief for borough taxpayers is to continue focusing on thoughtful commercial development. And in our town, often that's redevelopment, especially along our Route 46 corridor. Over the past 4 years, council has focused efforts in that area along the lines of simplifying the zoning and trying to encourage and attract thoughtful development. One example is the Sunrise Assisted Living facility currently under construction, which will provide an estimated $500,000 of annual tax revenue once it hits our tax base. The key word here is thoughtful, and development and planning with community input need to go hand in hand. So, it is very exciting that Kelly Holliday's on our ticket. Having an urban planner and having her have that firsthand experience bringing stakeholders in, it would be ideal to bring those skills to council, because we're very sensitive about these issues. I think the way that council handled the Sunrise Assisted Living Facility development should be our model going forward. As soon as we were made aware of that proposed development before the application hit planning board, we invited them into a council meeting so that the public council and the public were hearing details at the same time. We had community input every step of the way, and now we'll stay on top of the developers agreement to ensure that commitments that were agreed to are met going forward. Sunrise is projected to be at about an $18 million commercial rateable. It may be a realistic goal to hit $100 million along the Route 46 corridor. That would provide significant taxpayer relief, but it has to be thoughtfully done, as everyone else has said, so that it does improve our community and fits in with what we want as Mountain Lake citizens. Kelly also mentioned the Lake Arrowhead residents, that we have residents who live very close to this, and they need to be part of the conversation. If we're looking at commercial development on Route 46, we also should be thinking about how we can enhance the commercial corridor, put our Mountain Lake stamp on it. Can we turn our section of 46 into more of a parkway with trees planted down the median? These ideas have been proposed by residents in our community and are being discussed right now, and could be a real win for the community. Commercial development's about providing taxpayer relief. It's also about bringing new businesses for our community that can provide jobs and that can enhance our quality of life. An assisted living facility like Sunrise meets an important need. Personally, I'm really looking forward to having them as a new neighbor and member of our business community. And I think that really is a good litmus test. Are we excited about welcoming these new businesses into our community and having them as neighbors? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So we'll go to round two, question two. We're going to start off with Cynthia as the first candidate to speak on this point. The question is, does Mountain Lakes need a shared service agreement with the schools? If yes, what should be done? If no, why not?
Thank you. So we have a shared services agreement with the schools, and it is functioning in various ways at the doer level. But for the past 3 years, it's been difficult for the Borough and Board of Ed to collaborate effectively to optimize that agreement. I was on the Borough's Shared Services Committee when the agreement with the Board of Ed came up about 2 years ago, perhaps. And we did collaborate to work on the agreement, but didn't get to truly refine and optimize it. There's been a lot of change at the Board of Ed and at our borough's DPW, and it's basically impossible to finalize a shared services agreement until there's stability among the parties to the agreement. The good news is that to me, it looks like we're approaching stability, and so supporting refinement to the agreement in a way that offers value to our property taxpayers who support both the schools and the borough is now practical. And I do want to emphasize that it is functioning today at the doer level, but there is room for optimization. I'm confident that optimizing the borough schools shared services agreement will be pursued by the next Borough Council. And if that includes me, which I hope it does, I'll participate based on my current years of experience with the nitty-gritty of the borough's needs and understanding that we all need to minimize the joint burden on the taxpayer. Beyond the shared services agreement with the Board of Ed, while on Borough Council, I've been successful in supporting other shared services. In our early years on council, Lauren and I participated in the movement of the borough's IT support to a shared services agreement that we currently have with Madison. Later, I served on the Borough Shared Services Committee for a year, during which time I focused on supporting the borough manager and police chief in moving our police department records keeping system, that's our police department records keeping system, to the county system. This cut our budget a bit, not much, but it did cut our budget a bit, and it made sense from the public safety perspective. I also arranged for the state's shared services czars to meet with us on the support that the state offers towns in partnering for efficiencies. What they made clear is that the onus is on municipalities to come up with willing partners and specific projects in mind for shared services, after which point the state can help. With the state's current budget challenges, it's unclear as to whether or not that support will in fact be available in the next few years, but it's easy to check because we have the right phone numbers in our Rolodex. And when we're ready to do shared services in another area with willing partners and additional projects, we'll be able to reach out and we'll be able to pursue more shared services. Lastly, our borough manager is currently working on finding improvements to the electronic systems available for processing property tax, water, and sewer payments. And if re-elected, that's an area I'll keep an eye to when interacting with elected officials from other municipalities to see if shared services in that arena is a good idea.
Thank you so much. Kazar, you will answer the question again. Does Mountain Lakes need a shared service agreement with the schools? If yes, what should be done? If no, why not?
Thanks, Timothy, for that question. So my understanding is that we do share services with the schools, and the current council has tried to engage in conversations with the BOE on expanding and formalizing shared services. With respect to what should be done once I'm in office, it will depend on the discussions that occur between the current council and the BOE, but really nothing should be off the table. Where there's a duplication of services, there's a material reduction of, and there's no material reduction of necessary services, and the sharing of services would result in a benefit to our residents, such sharing should be encouraged and it should be pursued. But to the question, the specific question, yes, I support sharing services between the borough and our schools. I also support sharing services between Mountain Lakes and other towns. I know this exists today as well, and there's been a great deal of work done by volunteers in the past to find ways to make shared services work. I mean, for instance, Denville provides court services for Mountain Lakes, to name one example. And approximately 10 years ago, there were efforts to partner with Boonton Township regarding police forces. I support the continuation of these efforts, but we have to remember that we always need a willing partner for shared services to work. Nothing can happen unilaterally. But I do support those efforts, and it will be a priority as we move forward. So shared services has been looked at, it is being looked at, and will continue to be looked at to help reduce costs for Mountain Lakes residents. It's the right thing to do, and I fully do support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lauren, shall I read the question again?
I've got it. Thank you, though. So my answer is yes. We definitely need a shared services agreement with the schools. And please know, as Cynthia said, and Kazar, there is an active shared services relationship between the borough and schools. Our own Sergeant Benitez has to be the best school resource officer in the state of New Jersey. That's something the borough pays for, along with school crossing guards. The police provide a lot of other support to our schools as well. Our Department of Public Works and school facilities teams share labor and heavy equipment when needed. And the fact that our current school facilities director was currently employed by the borough's DPW is very helpful with that relationship. School vehicles fuel up at the borough's recycling yard. Honestly, there is a lot of back and forth. To be clear, there has been some disruption since 2019. It's not surprising given that I think there have been 3 school superintendents and 4 business administrators on the school side in that short period, in a year and a half, a year and 3/4 period of time. So it's natural that that focus may have been elsewhere, but there's a new school superintendent in place. Hopefully this is a long-term thing, and that stability does give the opportunity to grow. I believe there is going to actually be a borough and school shared services meeting next week coming up. I'm sure that will be a productive conversation, and just know the borough's door is always open. Some of our other shared services relationships were mentioned. Kazar mentioned our courts with Denville. Cynthia mentioned our IT relationship with Madison, also our emergency dispatch with Morris County and the record system. We also have our mutual aid agreements with police and fire, ambulance services with Boonton, Kiwanis, Parsippany, and St. Clair's, animal control with Montville. You know, these are just some of the relationships that save borough taxpayers money while maintaining and improving quality services for taxpayers. And I agree, we're always on the lookout for new arrangements. It will continue, it has been a focus and will continue to be a focus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kelly, how are you? Shall I read the question then?
Yeah, so I'm last up, and I just have to start by saying I couldn't agree more with everything Cynthia, Lauren, and Kazar have said up till this point. I mean, I think the answer to this question is pretty easy. Yes, absolutely. Mountain Lakes needs shared services agreements with the schools and with neighboring towns, and wherever it makes sense to have shared services agreements. And as has been said before, we do have shared services agreements in place, and people are consistently working to look for opportunities for that. So it's my firm belief that any and all opportunities we have to collaborate to find efficiencies and share overhead costs with the Board of Ed is a win for Mountain Lakes residents. It is also my understanding, as the other candidates have stated, that mainly because of referendum processes and instability in the schools, those agreements are in question, and some of the services that were previously shared have been eliminated. So I do believe that there's an opportunity to look to those agreements more in depth to identify areas where we can work together to save Mountain Lakes taxpayers money. Grounds maintenance comes to mind, DPW facilities personnel, policing, refuse collection, and many of the other areas that the other candidates have mentioned. However, as the Board of Ed and the business and administrator and superintendent roles in the schools have been stabilized, I think we can now make it a focus to really take a look at those opportunities and see what has worked in the past and what can work going forward. So that leads me to another point that I'd like to talk about, and that is stability and how important it is to governance. A constant churn in leadership in any organization creates inefficiencies and allows things to fall through the cracks. And I'll just want to give a shout out to my running mates, Lauren Barnett and Cynthia Corman, who have been able to create stability in the Borough Council, along with their other council members, of course, create stability in the borough with a new borough manager who's been there for 3 years and intends to stay, and with a full-time CFO being put in place. I would also like to put out that if those two individuals are reelected, which I hope they will be the most senior council members, besides, of course, the dedicated and fabulous Dan Happer. So among many, many other reasons that I appreciate those two candidates, I believe it's critical that we reelect them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kazar, you'll be on to the next question, number 3. And the question is, how will you control taxes in Mountain Lakes while maintaining the quality of life our community has come to enjoy and expect?
Sorry, I forgot to hit unmute for a second. Thanks, Timothy. So from a 50,000 foot level, you know, we have to make a conscious choice to educate residents on the issues, listen to their priorities when investing in the community and maintaining our quality of life, and keeping an eye on taxes by never forgetting that it's the residents' money and lives that are affected by our policies. To me, property taxes are an aspect of our lives in the community, and the level of taxes influences both the perception and the reality of our quality of life. This value proposition, getting what we pay for, is an important issue for me and will be a priority if I'm elected. You know, for example, with taxes and resident education, you know, before we can have an educated conversation about the rightness or wrongness of anything, we need to level set on the reality of what council actually controls and then discuss what we can do about it. Most of your tax bill goes to the schools in the county. About 10% goes to Morris County. About 70% of the property tax bill goes to the Mountain Lakes Board of Education. The municipality and the council have no control over how the county or the BOE spends this 80% of property tax receipts. Now, this allocation understanding between county, school, and Mountain Lakes is really important. Mountain Lakes has an average total tax bill of about $20,000 per year. We rank number 6 in the state. Average school taxes, however, are approximately $14,000 per year, ranked number 1 in the state. For municipal taxes, about $4,500 per year, or about $380 per month. We rank number 44 of the municipalities in New Jersey. In fact, a study by the New Jersey CPA Society found that for the average New Jersey town, 29% of the property tax bill goes to municipal spending. In Mountain Lakes, it's about 21%. So if we're controlling about 20% of the tax bill, and for an average municipal cost of about $380 per month, we get a lot of services that we do not want affected. Security and police, fire, road repair, snow removal, garbage collection, sewage, recreation, lake and beach access and testing, tree maintenance, our historic town character. We don't want to cut these services. And if we do, it may cost us more out of pocket than the $380 per month that we're actually paying. This is not a winning formula for success. But are there potential places we can look to cut the budget? Absolutely, there always are. For example, in the past 4 years, financial administration costs and utility costs were reduced. And over the past 4 years, tax increases were stabilized to a lower rate than the historically high tax increases from the previous 4 years. And at the same time, many projects were accomplished, including long overdue infrastructure investments, better community engagement through additional meetings and digital tools, and bipartisan collaboration among council with every budget. Many residents rightly believe that we are getting more value out of our municipal spending than ever, and we are. And I think continuing this work of investing in and maintaining our borough infrastructure while finding even more ways to provide meaningful taxpayer relief through budget efficiencies and thoughtful development are some of the best ways to maintain our quality of life and continue to move forward as we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Lauren, would you like the question reread, please?
I think I'm okay. And Kazar, that was a great answer.
Thank you,
I
Lauren.
really, I echo everything you said there. And I do appreciate you framing the conversation with first by talking about, the 20% of the property tax bill that Borough Council controls is that municipal portion. And for that, we do rank 44th in the state. And we have made some efforts. We have cut municipal tax increases by half over the past 4 years compared to prior years. And there are some places we've been able to save some money. But truly, keeping a lid on taxes is everyone's responsibility, including the borough, including our county, including the schools. And we already talked about what I believe all four of us believe to be the best bet to provide meaningful taxpayer relief, and that is thoughtful commercial development. We're making progress there. We also talked about shared services, and we can continue looking for opportunities to partner to save taxpayer dollars. One area looking to the future, we could see if a shared overnight police patrol with a neighboring town is possible. That's one option. We need to do a new 5-year solid waste contract. We need to get started on that, begin planning in about a year. That may be something where we should think outside the box and explore the idea of bringing that work in-house to control costs. We can also look at better leveraging technology to improve efficiency and improve services at the same time. I do want to share some other good news too. We have been able to successful in bringing in $1.2 million in state grants over the last 4 years for our roadway and sidewalk projects. We received $500,000 grant for Morris Avenue alone, which is big news for us. It's probably our biggest state grant ever. We need to continue being aggressive to go after state dollars and other grants. And bottom line, yes, we do pay high taxes. The flip side of that is it's important, as Kazar said, to see some value for that. Having new facilities at our beaches to enjoy and resurface roads and new sidewalks improves our quality of life, and it increases our property values as well. So bottom line, we need to be smart with how we spend our money and invest in the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Lauren. Kelly, shall I read you the question one more time?
Sure.
Sure. Question 3. How will you control taxes in Mountain Lakes while maintaining the quality of life our community has come to enjoy and expect?
Thank you for that question. I do want to also thank Kazar for framing the whole tax picture for everyone, so everyone has a clear understanding of how the tax breakout is completed in Mountain Lakes. And I will say, you know, the municipal budget, I've spent some time with it. It is fairly lean. But with that said, you know, I feel like there are some opportunities, many that Lauren had already mentioned, for finding savings within our budget through efficiencies like we've already talked about with shared services, both inside and outside of town, and through finding ways to maybe challenge the current way our refuse collection is contracted. We can also look for ways to leverage technology to improve cost savings throughout the borough. And one thing that I feel like has happened recently is that the borough has had to settle large commercial tax appeals in the past, which has created a risk to the budget, a hit that they weren't expecting necessarily, and that can create unstable tax increases. The borough has this Borough Council has begun setting aside savings to deal with those as they come up in the future. That will allow stability within the budget and the tax increases that come along with it. I also feel strongly that my experience as a commercial builder will help us ensure that we are able to deliver the Borough Hall project in the most cost-effective way possible. With the in-house expertise that we have in the borough, the experience that those individuals gain through the beach projects, and with the assistance and oversight from myself and Tom Menard on council, I believe we can deliver a great project on time and well within the budget. And last but not least, as we all said earlier, we can encourage thoughtful, appropriate development in our commercial areas. The Sunrise development, as Lauren has mentioned, will bring in $500,000 estimated tax per year. And we have other projects like that on the way and have goals to bring in more of those. I do think that it's important that we focus on commercial development rather than residential necessarily. That provides tax revenue that doesn't burden our schools or our systems. But going back to the original question, it has a different component that says, while maintaining the quality of life. This is why I firmly believe that Mountain Lakes has to take the lead on the vision for development we create for the community. It cannot be led strictly by a ratables chase and allow developers to be the greater beneficiaries of this process. We must ensure we zone and attract development that meshes with our shared vision and that doesn't impact the qualities that make us unique: our trees, our historic nature, our lakes, and our caring community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cynthia.
Thank
Last
you.
but not least.
Thank you. So how to control taxes in Mountain Lakes while maintaining quality of life. Watch every tax dollar, at the risk of being redundant here, watch every tax dollar, engage in shared services when it's financially beneficial to do so, and be a municipality that developers want to work with, because carefully done development is the best way to control property taxes. Now some of what I was going to say has already been said. So what I'll add is the skill level of the people speaking, the people running that you see before you, the joint skill level is exceptional. And teamwork is critical. Everybody on this call has shown that they are good at listening, good at collaborating, good at teamwork. So what you have before you is Kazar Sheikh, who has land use experience. He was a co-chair of the zoning board, perhaps, or co-chair of the zoning board. So that's land use experience. He is an attorney, and so the value of having an attorney on council, someone who's been an attorney for, I don't know, I don't listen to Kazar enough to know if it's been 20 years or 15 years that he's been an attorney, but I think it's been 20 years. So he's an experienced attorney, and that's just very valuable. And Kazar was also chair of the Environmental Commission. So one of the things that I've learned about development that can support property tax relief is that the biggest obstacle to it is fear. Fear of change, fear of environmental impact, adverse environmental impact, fear about processes that are going to disturb residents in town. And this group has the skills to manage that and to allay fears and to engage, to support the community in positive ways. as we all work together to come up with property tax relief measures. So thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. So, as we're going through these questions, everyone feels like the last one out is holding nothing. So we're going to start our next round with Lauren. We'll start off the first, so she gets the meat of the question and everyone can follow through. The question for you is, Lauren, Mountain Lakes is more than 100 years old, and with the charm of age comes infrastructure issues. What would you consider the most improvement we need to make the Mountain Lakes infrastructures work?
Okay, thank you. So here's the good news. Over the past 4 years, we've gotten some major infrastructure projects completed, a lot of road paving and sidewalk projects, and the new facilities at Birchwood Lake and Island Beach. So it's great to have that work behind us. Over the next 4 years, we need to continue the pace on road paving and sidewalk work. If we do, we're going to get ahead of the curve on this in 4 years. The same is true about improvements to our water infrastructure, which is much less visible, but also essential. And the borough's been stepping up pace on these improvements and need to continue focusing efforts there. 4 years from now, we should have 2 very big projects behind us also. The renovated and expanded Borough Hall, Police Department, Fire Department project, and the Sunset Dam project. And I'd like to go into some detail on the Borough Hall and Public Safety Facilities project because it is a significant investment of taxpayer dollars, and I know it's a hot topic in town. We all know that. The Borough Hall project, the need for this project has existed and has been talked about for decades, but the can's always been kicked down the road. The last serious effort to do this was bad timing. 2008, the project planning had gotten pretty far along, and then a big economic event hit, and it was canceled. So we picked it up again. We picked up the ball again, and the project now has been through a 3.5-year planning process, which started with an 11-member advisory committee, which included 3 public members. And this got kickstarted in January 2017. Council had a joint meeting with the Board of Education, and this proposed project was discussed then because the Board of Ed was talking about their proposed school referendum, and Council wanted to make sure that we brought up some of these needed infrastructure improvements on the borough side so that borough taxpayers would be informed when they were casting their vote for the school referendum. A few weeks after that January meeting, the advisory committee started working on project planning with key stakeholders. The project architect was selected in 2018. There have been many public discussions on this project over that time, as well as public tours of the facility. And all along, Council has tasked that committee with meeting the core requirements of police, fire, borough administration, and the public who use that building at the very lowest cost possible. The result was in June 2020, the advisory committee unanimously recommended authorizing project funding, stating that the project is fiscally responsible. It creates a more efficient, productive, safe environment for residents and employees. It positions the borough well for future operations. And it frees up our administration, our employees, our volunteers, and council to focus on other issues. We need to get this one behind us. The project was supported by our first responders in public meetings. There were some very powerful statements made. And it's the #1 way that the borough can support our police and fire departments. So in July 2020, a bipartisan borough council authorized spending of up to $4.5 million for the project to cover all the costs involved, from site work to building to soft costs and the 10% contingency. It's going to be bonded over 20 years. It's estimated to cost the average taxpayer $16 a month if the maximum is spent. But the borough is bringing management of this project in-house to try to bring the project in under budget. It's the same approach that was used successfully for the Island Beach and Birchwood Lake projects. I know Kelly Holiday mentioned that earlier in response to the last question. I do fully support this project. It protects borough taxpayers from risk. It protects anyone who works in or visits our Borough Hall, Police Department, and Fire Department. It is being done in a fiscally responsible way. It's the right and responsible thing to do. And it has been planned with great sensitivity to the taxpayer. So for me, that it will be very gratifying 4 years from now to look back and see those as completed projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we'll go to Kelly. Kelly, shall I read the question back again?
I think I've got it.
Great, wonderful.
Okay, thanks. So I'll just start by saying that I agree completely with Lauren that we need to continue on the positive path that has been set forward by the current council towards repairing our road surfaces, improving and expanding our sidewalk network, and repairing our aging water system. I have 3 additional priorities that I'd like to put on the list, and that is holding JCP&L's feet to the fire in terms of their tree trimming and needed repairs to our existing services and substations to make sure that they're redundant and less vulnerable to long outages. With the new need to work from home, this has become increasingly important to communities all around New Jersey. And we'll be committed to maintaining conversations with JCP&L and ensuring that they understand our needs. Another priority I think that is really important is repairing the Sunset Dam. This dam is in poor condition due to its age and its lack of capacity and its spillway. And if the dam were to fail, it would cause a significant amount of damage to homes along that shoreline, and it poses a potential danger to the residents. So we must prioritize getting that dam repair done soon or face being forced to drain that lake. And finally, last but not least, I think we really need to focus on replacing our aging tree canopy with native shade trees. Our canopy is aging and we're losing around 300 trees per year and replacing them with only 30 to 40 per year. I took a walk today on this gorgeous fall day, and as I was walking, I tried to imagine a mountain lakes without our gorgeous shade trees, and I really just couldn't do it. But it's up to us to ensure that our children's children get to experience mountain lakes the same way that we do today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Cynthia.
Yeah, so please do repeat the question.
Oh, yes. Mountain Lakes is more than 100 years old. With the charm of the age comes infrastructure issues. What do you consider the most important improvements we need to make Mountain Lakes infrastructure work?
Thank you. So to address the historic aspect, we should continue looking to the county for funding when the historical borough-owned structures need repair. About 10 cents of every Mountain Lakes taxpayer dollar goes to the county, and we have and will continue to look to the county for completion of projects on borough-owned historical structures. They are happy to help us, and we just have to make sure we look to them for those things. I also am I agree with 100% with Kelly on the importance of the tree canopy. But as I listen to us answering these questions, I'm a little concerned that it sounds like we want to give new things, and that's scary because that could lead to tax increases. And so when it comes to the tree canopy, I've always been an advocate for funding restoration of the tree canopy with fees collected from developers, and in some cases from residents who cut down a large number of trees, and using those fees for forestry management to restore our tree canopy. So I want to be clear that there are ways to manage our tree canopy without adding to taxpayer burden. And also, fortunately, trees are something that can be managed and restored with grant money that comes from outside of town. But absolutely, we need to support a tree canopy that's 100 years old. Lastly, I'll speak about the Borough Hall renovation. I am one of the 6 current council members who voted for the Borough Hall renovation. And I know that there's been some criticism of that, and I stand by my vote 100%. The Borough Hall renovation is for our public safety. Our public safety officials are our guardians during personal medical emergencies and public health emergencies. They protect us from fire and from carbon monoxide. They support our access to the lakes and beaches that we are so careful to preserve at great expense. Now, I don't want to give people the impression that Mountain Lakes is a dangerous place, because it's not, but our Mountain Lakes Police Department has engaged in exchanges of gunfire on some occasions. These people do have risked their lives for us, and they deserve a safe place to work, and that's not something that they have today. They address car theft and other forms of breaking the law when it happens in town. And it doesn't happen often, but they have addressed domestic violence. And when they have to address that, they need proper space to support the victims of domestic violence. And by the way, those victims can be men or women. Our public safety officials address speeding that supports safe walking. And with one of the best junior firefighter programs in the state of New Jersey, they teach our interested high school students what it means to be a public safety hero. And by the way, they give our children of all ages the joy of Santa Claus. And they do so much more. How can we turn our back on our public safety officials and keep them in a work environment that is not worthy of Laker pride? Another reason I support the Borough Hall renovation is that part of the renovation is going to add an elevator to the building. So this elevator will be for every mobility challenged citizen, from a senior who is aging in place, to the parent of a child in a stroller, to a student volunteer with a torn ACL that has to go to a meeting in Borough Hall, to a basic person temporarily on crutches. Right now, all those people can't really comfortably do business at Borough Hall. There's a chairlift that goes up the stairs, but you have to find someone who knows how to make it work, and you have to call ahead so that they're there to help you. And oh, you could go in through the police department, but you have to hope the police department isn't otherwise engaged in in something more serious than helping an individual get into public meeting space. So we need that elevator that's provided for in this Borough Hall renovation. Finally, and not least of all, equally important is we cannot ask our municipal employees to continue working in a building that is so uncomfortable during temperature extremes. Anyone who has been to Borough Hall in the middle of a hot and humid summer knows what I'm talking about. In recent years, our borough manager has jury-rigged some Band-Aids for the situation, but they are just Band-Aids. It's time for a fix. Those are the reasons that I have supported the Borough Hall project, and I hope that others in town understand that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kazar. Last one for this question. Shall I repeat it?
I love that, Timothy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mountain Lakes is more than 100 years old. With the charm and age comes infrastructure issues. What do you consider the most important improvements we need to make Mountain Lakes infrastructure work?
So I'm going to seize on your first comment, or first part of that question first, on the 100 years old piece. And it's not just 100 years old. Almost the entire town is listed on the national and state registers of historic places, and we are really proud of that fact, right? I mean, it's listed on the town's website and letterhead, and all of us as residents are very, very proud of that fact. It goes again to the idea that we are such a unique community. And again, like with anything unique, we have to protect it or we will lose it. So I don't view, the issue as just simply a question of improvements. There is maintenance of our existing infrastructure. There's investment in ensuring that this existing infrastructure and our town's unique character is preserved for us, for our families, and for future residents. So what do I consider the most important? They're the maintenance projects and investments that maintain the unique character of the town. Lauren, Cynthia, and Kelly talked about the different pieces of what makes us unique. And those investments and maintenance projects that maintain that character, I think, are one of the most important things that we can invest our money into. And this could include projects that protect and enhance our lakes and environment, as Kelly mentioned, the tree canopy, our historic charm, and frankly, our community and volunteers. All those are very, very important. On the improvements front, though, I don't think that the Route 46 corridor's appearance or function are reflective of either our unique community or the status of us as residents. Route 46 is a commercial corridor in our town, and I think it's very important to improve that corridor with thoughtful development that takes into consideration the impact on our residents, especially those most impacted by any such work. So I believe I believe that the development, the beautification, and the enhanced functionality of this commercial corridor, while doing so with resident input and buy-in, is probably one of the most important opportunities we have moving forward.
Thank you very much. So that rounds up our questions that we had this afternoon. It's very lovely, all the different thoughts on mountain lakes. Maybe I'll spend more time up there one day. Plainfield's an old town too. So what I will do is our closing statements, and we will start off with, if elected, at the end of the term, what mark would you leave on the town as your question for your closing statement? If elected, at the end of your term, what mark would you leave on your town? And let's start with Kelly Holiday to start off.
Great, thank you, Timothy. So what mark would I leave on mountain lakes? I think I have several concrete goals and some more philosophical goals that I'd like to achieve if I'm elected. For my concrete goals, I'd like to have a hand enhancing and redevelopment on the Route 46 commercial corridor, which will allow us to bring taxpayer relief and improved access to desirable amenities to the community. I would like to be involved in successfully delivering an in-budget Borough Hall project, allowing us to provide a safe work environment for our policemen, our firefighters, and our borough employees. I'd like to help with delivering a completed Sunset Dam project, which eliminates risks to our residents. I'd like to ensure that we have a continued focus on roads and sidewalk improvements, which are so important to improving the safety and walkability of our town. I'd like to take a real hard look at improvement through borough services through leveraging our technology, hoping to do fewer in-person and paper processes and save costs and improve the overall resident experience with the borough. I'd like to be involved in an improvement in our rate of replacement for our tree canopy. And I'd look to put a real effort into finding new ways to cultivate volunteerism. This town runs on volunteers, and we need to continue to seek out the talent that we have in Mountain Lakes. Through my volunteer efforts, I've seen just how it creates a deeper appreciation for the community and for your neighbors. It's a uniting force, and I'd like to see us spread our tentacles throughout all of Mountain Lakes to try to find all of the skills and enthusiasm that's out there. So now to my philosophical goals. I'd mostly like to be thought of as a person who worked hard and put their ego aside and got things done for Mountain Lakes. I'd also like to be a spark that inspires more unaffiliated residents to run for office. Mountain Lakes is 40% unaffiliated, and those people should feel empowered to run and to represent, even if we don't identify with a specific political party. And for that, I would really like to thank my running mates. They took a political risk by having me on their ticket and including me in this journey, and it has truly been my privilege to run with them. So thanks, Kazar, Lauren, and Cynthia for this great ride. That's that.
Thank you, Kelly. Cynthia.
Thank you.
Shall I repeat, or you got
it? No, that's okay. So if elected at the end of the term, the mark that I would like to leave on the town is multiple. I would want to see completion of our affordable housing plan, which will take us through the end of 2024. So in other words, the plan that I'm currently so involved with, it takes care of our municipal obligations for affordable housing until 2024. But it's expected that there will be ongoing rounds of affordable housing. You never know when there'll be a regulation change, but probably the next period will be 2025 to 2034. I know those are scary things to think about, meaning 2034, will that ever come? but it will. And so if I'm reelected, then hopefully I will have the opportunity to work on the next plan that meets our obligations at that time, but again, in a way that preserves the borough's lakes, parks, and tree canopy. I want to continue to see kids biking and walking around town, thriving in our sports and summer programs, and using and learning from our lakes and woodlands, which is something that they are able to do today, and that should continue. And I'd want to continue to see our adult residents doing the same. We all do so much for our children in this town, but the adult residents, we have to take care of ourselves with our beautiful, our opportunities for exercise and the value that the nature around us gives. So that's for the kids and for the grown-ups. I'd want to have supported promotion of our town to potential residents. We haven't talked much about that, but I have simple plans in mind for that, some of which have started, both of which have started. It's not a heavy lift. And so if reelected, then I will follow through on helping to promote our town to potential residents and thereby support property values. Lastly, I would want to have reduced property taxes with support for continued development on the Route 46, primarily on the Route 46 corridor. Lastly, I would want to be able to say that our small business owners in the Midvale area have been supported. And if development in that area is called for, I would want to be able to say that I supported that in a community engaged way that created wins all around. Thank you.
Thank you. Kazar?
Thanks, Timothy. So if elected, what mark would I like to leave in our town? So I guess this question relates to a little bit of why I'm running for council in the first place. And that really has everything to do with family. It's why I do everything that I do. I want to keep Mountain Lakes the best place to call home for my family and for yours. So I'm running for Borough Council to do just that, preserve what makes Mountain Lakes great and help it thrive, unify different views to find common ground as one community, and make the complex understandable so that each resident, regardless of background or belief, has a voice in our community's priorities and the management of our borough. But I guess to the question of what mark I would like to leave on our town, listen, let me start with this, right? We are all blessed to live in this town, and we are starting in a place where the community that we live in is already the best place to call home. But the specific ways that I want to be remembered, of course, I would want the town to be even a better place than it is today and remain the best place to call home for our families and for future residents. I would want residents to remember that I served honorably with their best interests in mind without a personal agenda of my own, that I led with integrity, I developed trust within the community, that I provided knowledge and education about how the borough works so that each resident can have their own voice and make their own decisions, that I worked with everyone, even with those views different than mine, and found consensus and a way to move forward for the benefit of the residents and our town, and that I worked on issues that the community thinks are important and made a difference in those issues, lowering our tax burden, working collaboratively with our schools, promoting the inclusion of every single resident. And finally, I would want my term to serve as an encouragement to others in town to serve in some capacity as a volunteer for our community, especially those who have felt like they shouldn't or couldn't in the past. I would hope that my own kids look at the time and effort that my wife Nadia and I spend volunteering for this community and are continue to be inspired to work hard and protect their community now and in the future. At the end of the day, I am proud to live here. I'm proud to devote my time to this community's betterment using the unique skills I have. And for that reason, I thank you for your time today. Thanks for listening. And I hope to have your vote to serve as your councilman over the next 4 years. And I hope all of us have your vote to continue serving on council and serve the community in the best way that we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kazar. Lauren, you're bringing up the pack.
Okay, I guess first I want to say just it was great to hear my fellow candidates' responses to that question. I truly hope all of you do get that opportunity to serve. Kelly Holiday, Kazar Sheikh, Cynthia Corman. I just feel this would be a phenomenal team who would work together well and put the needs of the community first. I would also love to make history and elect the first independent to Borough Council. that's one of the things I feel so strongly about with our campaign is this one community theme, and the fact we are a bipartisan slate, and the fact that 40% of people in town are not affiliated with a party, and just everyone in town should feel welcome and encouraged to run for council. So saying that, if I'm reelected to Borough Council, I will have been given the opportunity to serve our community over an 8-year period. And if you think about that, that's kind of a big chunk of someone's life. I wouldn't be running for reelection if it weren't rewarding to get things done for our community, to get to know how everything works, to get to know the people who work so hard for our community and our management team, our administration, our police, our volunteer firefighters, all of the volunteers who work for our town. Truly, our town is powered by volunteers. I think at our volunteer recognition event last year, it was 200 people invited, that our community emergency response team as well. It's really, truly a team effort. And the mark that I would want to leave over this period of time is bringing strength and stability to our borough management team. That's how we can get things done. To continue improving communications, I'd love to do, back in 2017, I sort of initiated and helped with a 2017 citizen survey. We had a wonderful response. 20% of households responded to that survey. And I'd love us to do another citizen survey in 2021 to get community input as we set priorities for a new council. I'd love council to set a goal of doing that every 4 years. I'd love to continue being a responsive leader. It's something I really enjoy. I want to see these big infrastructure projects completed. The road paving and sidewalk is so important to walkability and safety. And I also want to focus on safer pedestrian crossings. Want to see that new Borough Hall done, the Sunset Dam done, and marrying together this idea of development and planning so that we get new ratables that the community supports. And then I want to see our community really unify around a positive vision for our future. We are blessed to live in Mountain Lakes, New Jersey, to live here, to raise our families here, whatever life stage we're in. We are very fortunate. So I thank you so much for listening. I encourage anyone who's listening who wants to learn more about our campaign, who has more specific questions, to feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Mary? I just want to make a few statements in regards to vote by mail. They are in your mailboxes or on your way to your mailboxes. We need to make sure that we fill them out. But remember, mostly is to turn them over. There are 3 referendums on the back. And what we're hearing is people are forgetting to look at the back. 1, 2, and 3. The league has put its position on number 3, that we do not support it. We vote no for the census holdup. So please read them, advise yourself, get to know, ask others to vote, get in early. We don't know what's going to happen in November. We don't know what the turnout is, but it's looking very heavily. Ballots are coming in a lot. So we just want to be ahead of the curve. And I turn it back to Mary.
Yes, hello, everyone, and thank you. I think everyone will agree this was a really informative session. At the beginning of the session, I think people were having trouble getting onto the video, getting onto the YouTube site. So if everyone can go back to our website now, it's going to be saved onto our YouTube video channel, and you can watch it from the start if there was anything you missed. And thank you for coming, and don't forget to vote. Good night.